Well, hello everybody, welcome to Sonic Talk, episode 754, recording today on the 19th of April. Yeah, that's right, April. I feel a little bit discombobulated. I've just got back from NAMM. This is the post-NAMM show. This is the music technology podcast as well, called Sonic Talk, and you will be enjoying, I hope, our discussions of all the recent music technology stuff from NAMM, which is a big show in Anaheim, California, usually in January, but it's sort of moved. I think they're going to go to January next year, so we're going to have only 8 months and before the next NAMM. So we're back from that, and we saw a lot of good stuff. I just want to give you a little bit of a heads up as well. We've got our Patreon. I'm going to play a little trailer for that. We do encourage you to support us on Patreon. It helps us keep things ticking over, and you know, in these difficult to find ad times, always nice to support the things you like, assuming you do like this, in which case, if you don't, then don't support it. Why not consider joining us on Patreon? We've got a couple of levels. Even for the mere $2.50 a month, you'll get all our stuff ad-free, plus the occasional exclusive video. In fact, I did post a few from NAMM, just a bit of behind-the-scenes stuff, because I wanted to get some out to all of the patrons, so there's 2 or 3 little short videos there. But as well as all of that, if you go up to the upper layer, you'll get free patches, you'll get everything ad-free. I think I already said that. But you also get exclusive video, you get Sonic Lab extras, you get all of that kind of good stuff, including samples. There's a whole bunch of things there. In fact, if you want to join us, including a load of stuff from our email, actually, we've got some exclusive stuff there. So if you want to join us, $2.50 a month for the basic level, or $5.50 a month, and if you do that before the end of the show, your name will appear in the end credits, because it's all done automatically. Once again, please consider joining us on Patreon. Back to the show. Yeah, gosh, I should have drunk a cup of coffee before I did that ad. I sound tired and uninterested, but I assure you that's not what all of our content is like. Anyway, lovely to have you viewers there. We've got a bunch of people in the chats. We've got the IRC, we've got the YouTube, we've got the Twitch, and we've got Facebook Live. So please do enjoy us. I want to say big thank you to Wagyu, as ever, for manning the controls of the not insignificant amount of technology that brings all the comments together, but also, as he does for many shows, moderating the comments and keeping them clean and free from lonely ladies who tend to congregate at such events. Right, let's say hello to some people. It's been a while since, well, firstly, we got 2 Robbies, or 2 Roberts, or well, one's a Robert and one's a Robin, so Robs. Could be Bobs. There's the other one.
Thanks for that.
Hello, Robbie. How are you doing, Robbie? How are you doing? I haven't got a load. Robbie is free for a moment because he's normally producing or working with Howard Jones. I guess were you on tour recently, Robbie? I think.
Well, we've been on tour recently. We did a European. I did a cruise. I played on an '80s cruise in the Caribbean with Howard and Living Colour and Devo and a few other bands. So that was fun. We had a week. Did two gigs on the first night, because there's like 2,000 people on this thing, and the venue only holds 1,000. So we have to do 2 gigs, and then the rest of the time it's just a holiday hanging out with all these bands. So it was,
wow, sounds fantastic.
It was fun. It was a fun time. And then we just found out this week we've got a 28 dates tour with Culture Club in America in the summer. So that's going to be fun.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, that sounds really good. This sounds great. So plenty of stuff to be doing on the road. Are you doing much studio work as well? Are you in the?
I just signed this week my little deal with BT's label Cassette. So I've got my first release coming out under my artist name Delta B mid-May next month. So that's just come back from mastering. So that's all exciting. So been doing that and just a few bits and bobs really.
Excellent. Well, lovely to see you. It's been a long time. We must actually try and meet up in person, because I don't think we've actually seen you since before all of the horrible business. But we should. I
saw you at the Bristol event. Oh, the Bath event, the first one. The first.
Oh yes,
one.
Of course. Yes, you did. That's right. In November. Yes, of course. How could I forget?
Yeah.
Quite easily, obviously. I do apologise. Anyway, lovely to see you. And also we have the other Robin, Vincent, Molten music tech, a man of many YouTube videos and writing and reporting and modular and all that stuff. How are you, Robin? You well?
Yeah, I'm doing good, thank you. I'm glad the sun's out over here. I'm allowed to take my jumper off in the shed, which is nice. And starting looking forward to bright colours and things.
Oh. Yeah, a bit of spring and all that. Yeah, wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, wouldn't it?
I've got you a bit. Yeah, it would. So what's going on the YouTube channel? Have you got any exciting video? Did I see you? Have you got the... what did I see you had? I can't remember. My short-term memory is completely kaput after NAMM. As you know, it does.
Yeah, I have some things, definitely. Yeah, things. I mean, I'm since Synthese, which is only a month ago or so, I'm so behind with everything. I've got great big boxes of stuff all over the place that I need to be looking at and making videos on. So there's no end of stuff, which hopefully should start coming out very soon because I'm a little bit overwhelmed. But I've been playing with a wobbler today. That's been fun. The Wobbler 2 from This Is Not Rocket Science. I got a bunch of Error Instrument stuff just turn up as well, which is, I've kind of got to put a day aside for that because it's just going to make you feel weird. And, you don't want to intersplice that with anything else. You just got to kind of give it its own space so that it can, so you can understand and do its thing, I think.
Don't get contaminated.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
No, indeed.
Quarantine yourself.
Lots and lots.
Right. Well,
yeah.
Excellent. Lovely to have you, Robin. And we haven't actually seen you since Synthese. So, I must talk to you about how you felt it went and stuff. I'm sorry I couldn't make it, but I know Gaz did. In fact, I'll introduce Gaz now, and then we can perhaps riff on it. Gaz Williams, of course, there, music technologist, YouTuber, bass player, all those things. How are you, Gaz? Were you well?
Yeah, I'm really well. Thank you very much. Inspired and kind of excited. Yeah. So, yeah, good. Really, really, really gutted to announce that I'm not going to Super Booth this year, though. That's I can't believe it. I'm absolutely gutted about it. So, and that's because I'm playing Eurovision. That's been announced now.
It had to happen once.
Yes. So it's not on a Saturday. I'm playing on Friday. Like this, it's a big party. This big party on the Friday night. With Charlotte Church and the gang.
Well, that'll be great fun. I mean, I imagine it'll be really, really good fun.
I don't know. I'm torn about it. Super Booth is just like, the most incredible event. It's like the epicenter. And I'm sure because we're going to be talking about NAMM, it being so close to Super Booth, I think certainly has affected like maybe some of the synth news at NAMM, but that's another point. But yeah, Super Booth is soon though, isn't it? What, we're only...
Yeah, literally, it's about 3 weeks away. It's just 4 weeks nearly. I'm just thinking, oh my God, how am I going to fit all of this in? Yeah, and organisationally and stuff. But yeah, it'll be good.
But I mean, like, NAMM, I guess, is the topic, though, isn't it? So clearly, Super Booth come in. Maybe that does affect the NAMM stuff, but there's still lots to talk about, isn't there?
Absolutely. Well, as you know, NAMM just happened. I mean, just to recap, NAMM, of course, usually runs for 4 days. This time it was only for 3. So we had Thursday, Friday, Saturday, which was really weird because we always party on Saturday night, and that's the day because we've done 3 days of the show. We think if we've either got to party to commiserate because everything went wrong or because we're smashing it, and we didn't because Friday we were still working on the Saturday, so it was a bit weird, but it was good. Just want to say a big thanks to the team, which is Andy and I've got a break. Andy, Ed, Chris B, Chris D, Ben, Rob, Jim, Mira, and all of the team. We had a lot of people working on it because we were getting some people up to speed for Super Booth, where we'll be doing much the same thing, and our sponsors, Soma and Spectrasonics and Strands / Void Vista. So but smaller, less synths, less actual floor space. I mean, for those of you who have been to NAMM and maybe didn't go this time, there's the big hall, which is massive. That wasn't totally full. In fact, the first 2 halls were big and then it would sort of tail off. So you had a sort of front row and then the back was kind of a bit more just filled with cases and stuff. No basement whatsoever. And then the main ACC hall, which is the new one, the ground floor, that was actually really vibey this time because I think lots of people came in through that entrance and that was the first place they went, and there felt like there was quite a lot of stuff. So less footfall perhaps, but all the people that were there sort of felt like they were not tire kickers. You know, they were there for a reason, and they were all pros. There were less people wandering around just trying to get stickers and free stuff, and more genuinely interested.
Right.
So, it seemed that way to me. But I haven't spoken to any exhibitors yet, and whether the footfall was greater or lesser than last time. But there was still plenty to look at. I don't know, from afar. I don't know what kind of impression you got. It sort of, did it feel like an event, or did it feel a bit less?
So to me, it felt a bit less.
Right.
I mean, in years gone by, you just found loads of things that I know that's always changing with the fact that so much stuff gets released just with general releases across the internet all throughout the year. But it just did seem. Last time I was there was the one that happened just before COVID hit. The last proper that proper one, wasn't it? And that was like full on. And certainly I remember it. Just I probably found half a dozen things that I was interested in that I saw were announced at it, which is probably way less than in the past. I don't know if that's because of my indifference to things more these days, or because they're just genuinely, like Gaz says, maybe the sort of stuff that I'm interested in is being held off a bit as a super booth.
Yeah. You could be right there. I mean, I think the thing about Superbooth also, I think Superbooth was impacting, certainly in the synth last time. The last time I went, which was 2020, there was definitely less there because people were going, if it's going to cost me X to go to LA, and I live in America, and I could go to Berlin for the same sort of outlay, I think I might rather go to Berlin, although it's less businessy. So it depends on what the reason is. I mean, I think the thing about Berlin is probably more media but less dealers. So it depends on what you're looking for, I guess, as a synth show from there. I don't know, Robin, what do you think? How did it seem your end? I mean, because you presumably get access to all those press releases as well, like I do, and you can get a sense.
Yeah, you do. It feels very much more like a guitar show every year, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, there's masses of that kind of thing around, masses of cymbals and drums, percussion, those sorts of things. But there wasn't really that much to grab my attention. I did keep an eye open for Jacob of the sheer Oberheim thing. So I thought he's bound to be there year after year. It will be tweaked a little bit more, and we'll get closer and closer to his clone of the Oberheim. But I didn't even see that. Although I did see Corey Feldman. I mean, that's a bonus any day of the week. I think it was Ken talking to him on the Hydrasynth, which is very exciting. If you don't know what I'm talking about. That's fine. You have to be of a certain age. No, Goonies never die.
Ah, yes. No, that's right. I think Ed said he saw Corey Feldman, and because I'm not a Goonies fan, so I didn't really.
I see.
Didn't really get it, but yes, I remember him saying that. So yeah, I didn't really see
many
many celebs at all. Saw the obligatory Stevie Wonder. I saw Stevie Wonder on the Groove Synthesis Third Wave, playing on that. Or at least, I don't know if he was playing it. There was so.
I was going to say I've got a very funny Stevie Wonder NAMM story. I'll tell you after the show, when I was working at TC Electronic one year presenting.
Right, I think that's when I first met you, actually, when you were doing that. But yeah. I'm not sure I know.
I once had to demo some stuff at NAMM to Bruno from Fame, the keyboard player.
Whoa!
Him with the big hair, big curly hair. So that was kind of funny. That's kind of was one of my funny spots at NAMM once. Yeah.
That's a great one. Well, actually, funny fact. Suzanne Vega went to Juilliard in the 70s when Fame was Fame School. She was one of the students during that period. She told me that. I met her a few times back, and I just said, "Wow, that must have been amazing." So she knew the real Bruno and the real Irene Cara and all of those kind of types. Although she wasn't very. I don't think she was one of those outgoing students. So yeah, as you could probably get from the nature of her lyrics. But yeah, I know it is interesting, isn't it, Robbie? That Robin, that there's less. That it felt less showbiz all round. I would say there was less of that going on, and less of those kind of people there. Less. Because normally, I mean, I remember years gone by, there'd be loads of people in costumes and all gothed up and really just sort of almost just on parade, just sort of there to be seen and see. And there was less of that this time, very much less of that. And I guess that's that makes it more businessy, which I guess is what it always used to be. It became a little bit too much for a couple of years, where you go there and it was just literally everywhere you turn, somebody would be handing you a CD saying, listen to my CD, and it was always the same thing. Mastered in the same Pro Tools. It was just so generic, and it became a little bit difficult to discern what was different, I suppose, for everywhere. But I don't know, but Gaz, I mean, I'm trying not to sort of say that there was nothing to talk about, because there certainly is stuff to talk about. I was just wanted to get general impressions. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Well, I was really impressed by the amount of content that you made, and it really broad. Lots of software and lots of interesting software as well. So perhaps there was more happening in that area. Certainly some quite unusual things software-wise. And the orange vocoder from Synaptic has finally...
finally,
it's looking very nice. It's a... Gosh... That's an old plugin originally, isn't it? When was that? It's 20 years old or something?
I've had every iteration of that one.
Have you? It's funny. I bumped into Dennis, the guy from Synaptic. Last time I saw him, he was, he had quite short hair. Now he's got really long hair. So
yes, Dennis.
It's almost like the hair is also an indicator of how long it took to finish the plugin in a sort of weird kind of way. Yeah. Maybe you should have it cut now, just for that.
But I mean, in terms of the big releases, yes, I think it's been held over for Superbooth. But that Intellijel, was it Cascadia?
Cascadia.
Was announced, wasn't it? And I mean, for some people, it might be a bit yawn-worthy because it's like a subtractive synthesizer, analog, etc., etc. I mean, it's not particularly cheap either. But when you look at it, it is
actually hold that thought because I've actually got that lined up, so we could in fact.
It's almost like you planned it.
That's why I was asking in advance. Hold on, let me just play that, and we could kind of go into it because it wasn't at NAMM, but I've got a great video from Myla Melodies.
Hello.
Just a load of quite interesting sonic examples from Mr. Myla Melodies here. Yeah, I mean, missed this. It wasn't there. I mean, lots of people were talking about it, and the video got released because there's a sort of feeding frenzy around it. But $2,149, and it's a 2 VCO synth. I mean, there is a lot to it, and I have to say, I've got the Intellijel Atlantis, which I think sounds fantastic, and this obviously has got a lot of that heritage in there. But as you're saying that, Gaz, it is another subtractive synth, but it does sound like it's got a lot going for it, and I'm sure we'll see it at Superbooth.
Well, the thing that struck me about it was having only recently, in the last few years, started playing around with Intellijel stuff. Intellijel have a very clear, and sometimes don't say necessarily workmanlike, but just a very kind of clear and functional. I mean, not all, they've got loads and loads of things, of course, but I really appreciate their kind of clean design ethos, and this is like it looks like just like a summation of all of the kind of clever designs that they've been working on for years in individual modules, kind of put together into like a super module. The Pittsburgh modular Tiger is a little bit like that with Pittsburgh, just sort of bringing their kind of,
all our stuff in one place. Yeah.
And that's what this kind of looks like. And I mean, yes, it's got quite an expensive price in a way, but I mean, if you were to break that down into modules, it would probably be sort of way more. But anyway, I think it looks great. I mean, for what it is, wow, it's really good.
Oh my God, there was buttons everywhere. Let's have a look. Yeah, I Robbie, you sounded very keen on this as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I've got quite a few Intellijel modules, and my Eurorack case is the big palette case, performance case. I mean, I go with what Gaz says. They're kind of like, it's like really clean design. Really, everything is just really efficient and works well. And so it kind of appeals to me because I like the fact that it's nice and clean looking and very well laid out. And like Gaz says, some of the parts, I mean, with all the I/O and everything, like if you add it all up and you try to build that with a pallet case, it would cost you a lot of money, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about the thin wooden side bits, but you know me and wood.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the lovely grey and white industrial design is slightly sort of put back by the wood on the sides, but that's just me.
Yeah, it's got very similar colouring to the Super 6, actually, hasn't it?
Yeah.
In a way, the grey one. Yeah, interesting. It's a nice look.
Yeah.
I know, Robin, I mean, you know, Mr. Modular also, have you got any Intellijel stories or experience?
I have the odd module. I mean, surgical is probably the word that I would use.
Yeah.
But to be honest, from my point of view, I don't think it looks very nice at all. I think it's I don't know. It doesn't. It's not. I mean, I'm talking purely about the aesthetic of it. For me, it does nothing for me at all. It doesn't look like it invites me in to do anything. However, as far as an instrument goes, it is for modular people. It is packed full of modular type utilities. It's not something you would see as a semi-modular synth, although it is, and you could just play it. But it's got this whole strip in the middle, which is all utilities, all interesting things. You've got wave folding, so it's not just subtractive. You've got wave folding, you've got sample and hold. Oh, those sorts of noises. I mean, it reminds me actually more of the ARP 2600. And kind of prices itself around that sort of space with the Korg one, I think, and maybe crossed with the Synthy. And the original, not the original Synthy, the original Erica Synthy, and my Synthex I'm talking about, which was the slightly weirdly coloured one, which is why I keep doing that. So yeah, I think it's going to sound amazing. It's a place where you have to play. It's not, you know, you have to patch it. It's all going to be about the patching. It's not just a thing to play with. It's a thing you have to get really into. But I'd prefer it in black or silver or orange or
fair play,
vermouth.
Not that. Yeah. Well,
vermouth.
Yes.
As I'm looking at it, though.
Yeah.
Apologies, Nick. After you.
No, go. I mean, I like the sound. Because the Atlantis was one of the first, or one of the early single voice modules, and I think it was sort of 101, MC 101, SH 101 kind of vibe. I don't know if it sounds much like that. I'm a single oscillator. This has only got two, so two oscillators. But yeah, all of those features, I suppose, for the money is pretty reasonable.
Hold that image up there, then, Nick. So one thing that Intellijel have really sort of pushed a lot into Eurorack is the 1U format as opposed to 3U. And this, if you look at this, it almost looks like it's comprised of, it's not, but it almost looks like it's comprised of two 1U sections and two 3U sections. So along the top, you can see it's got effect sends and returns, you know, on big jacks, you know, which
the busing thing,
you know, which they've brought that very much into Eurorack as well, you know, and so that was just to further that idea that this just seems like that they've just melded a lot of what they do together, you know, including the 1U format, you know, into this thing.
It's like a pre-made palette case, basically, isn't it?
Yeah, pre-made palette case. Yeah,
it is.
Yeah,
the layout's a little strange, though. I think the layout doesn't really follow anything that anyone usually does. Not that it has to, of course. I mean, the oscillators are down at the bottom, and one of them's sort of on the left, and one of them's a bit more middle next to the envelopes, and then the filter's at the top, and then so you know it is like you've built your own palette case where you just put the things wherever the heck you like. You know, it doesn't follow the usual.
I can see you're getting OCD.
The usual
there,
conventions.
Getting Eurorack OCD there. So.
Yeah. I need to rearrange it.
The patching sort of happens in the middle, doesn't it? Which is a bit unusual, leaving the bottom bit unpatched and the middle and the.
Well, that's good for cabling, isn't it? It's really good for cabling, having that down the middle. It stops it getting all in the way of the knobs.
Well, that could be right. Anyway, it's over $2,000. I don't know when it's. I mean, I literally was in the air most of the time. You know, I wasn't really paying attention to this because I literally just was filming stuff. So, but it looks like it could be fun, and it's not really a NAMM thing, I suppose. But hey ho, probably good time to run a message from our friends. It's very nice of them to continue to support us here, and much appreciated. So, we'll just say thanks to them. OZone 10 is the future of mastering. The new version includes Master Assistant, match your master to any reference file or files. Also, the Stabilizer module in Advanced adds clarity with intelligent and adaptive mastering EQ. Also included is the Impact module in Advanced, which enhances the rhythm by controlling microdynamics. Don't forget the code SONIC10 at iZotope.com/SonicTalk to save an additional 10% off any software purchase, not including subscriptions. And we thank iZotope for the continued support of the show. And if you're interested in maybe saving 10%, you can head over to iZotope.com/SonicTalk. We've got a special landing page. Any iZotope plugin purchase, use the code SONIC10 at checkout to save. And that often includes sale items as well. So one certain, I think they're doing an upgrade at the moment. I think you can get all of their stuff for $2.99 or something, and that's going to say you're saving $30 on that. Anyway, thanks very much to them for their support. So yeah, okay, I guess we're on to sort of other stuff really, because we do have some other picks, I suppose, and I think one of the things that you were interested in. If I come to you, Robbie, first, let me just play it, I suppose, and then we can get into that. So I believe, let me just find the right button. I think it's this one.
So hi, Mikhail.
Yeah.
We're here at NAMM. We're at the FreqPort booth, right? And you're going to show us the FreqTube.
Yeah, so our first product, the FreqTube FT1, a bit new innovative product. Yeah, we say analog reinvented, and I explain you a bit how.
I'll summarise because I don't think he gets to the point that quickly, and time's moving on. Essentially, it's, as far as I understand, it's 4 tubes with 4 kind of like warming circuits, saturation and EQ. A bit like the electron. What's it called? Analog drive? Is that what it's called?
Analog heat.
I don't remember what it was called. Analog heat.
Yeah.
Similar sort of concept, I think, but perhaps a bit less stuff in there. And so you use it as you control it via a USB plug-in. A plug-in that then sends the audio into the circuit, back out again, so you get a round trip D to A to D, and you can automate and you can have it do its warming on. I guess you can link the pairs, and you've got MIDI control. 850 euros, which for 4 channels is pretty reasonable, I would say. I mean, I don't know anything about the company, so I can't vouch for how anything else. But this took your fancy.
Yeah, I mean, I like all this sort of stuff. I've got the Otto machines, Bim Bam Boom. So I've got the BIM, which has got the analog drive section, and I'm always looking for stuff in software. Like I've used Decapitator for years by SoundToys, and the Black Box HG2 and XLN RC20, all those plugins for sort of bringing in sort of valve stages and bringing in warmth and fundamentals and harmonics. And it just seemed like a really elegant modern day sort of outworking of that, sort of like you say, very much along the analog heat thing, but just with a little bit more to it. And I'm a sucker for anything that's kind of not too kind of old school analog, a bit more sort of forward thinking like that. So yeah, it appealed to me a lot.
Well, one of the things I thought is, if you're going to go to all that trouble and put a USB audio interface into it, it would probably make sense to stick some mic amps in, and so you could use it as, a return circuit, or you can actually use it as a warmed up mic. I mean, I guess that would add an awful lot to the price. So, but I mean, that might make sense, I suppose, in some ways. I don't know. Gaz, you were nodding there, but I mean, I'm the same with the heat. It would make sense for that, really, wouldn't it, as well? I suppose.
Well, the heat has got it has got line-ins, so you can use it. I use it concurrently, so I've got it connected via the analog heat, that is, via USB, and it's also I'm using it wired in, so you can kind of use it in 2 functions, which is really handy. But I think, though, this has some similarity, some clear similarity. Obviously, the plug-in, the fact that this is controlled entirely by plug-in, I think, isn't it? It's got I mean, you got controls on it as well, but the tubes are different.
So hi, Mika.
It's got different tubes, so you've got and you
that's
can
right,
run
different
it
flavors.
Four monos, or 2 monos and a stereo, or 2 stereos. So nice and flexible. And the different tubes are gonna sound pretty different. You know, I love tubes.
I would have thought they would.
Sorry, what am I saying? Tubes, valves.
Valve, that's it.
Yes, but I've in recent years I've just really got into running stuff out of digital through some analog and back into digital again. I'd avoided that for years. I was under the impression that you do the first A to D on the beginning of the signal path, so like that diaphragm of a microphone or the movement of an electric guitar string, and then when it hits those analog to digital converters, it stays kind of in the sort of digital world right up until it's on that CD playing out, coming out of the speakers for the end listener. I'd kind of stuck to that almost like a mantra or like a rule, thinking that extra AD, DA conversions in a signal path is going to destroy the integrity of the signal. And yes, it does, but
in a
good way. So I've become, I've gone the other way now. I really always love to process stuff in analog, which is a pain in the bum, because the thing about this which makes it a pain in the bum is that analog, you have to do everything in stinking real time, you know, as opposed to
that's true.
Offline rendering.
Yes, but looks dead cool though. Looks really cool up my street too, this thing. Yeah,
I mean, I guess the only thing with
sorry
go. I was just going to say, I guess the only thing with these things is always the thing of, if you buy something like this, you hope the company's going to be around for a while, because obviously it just turns into a big door wedge if the company goes under, and it's a totally software-driven thing. But you know, it's the risk you take,
true.
isn't it?
I mean, one thing I did hear is some companies are having to kind of diversify, because a lot of these valves actually come from Russia and Russian Federation. So it's kind of, you know, you've got to make sure that you've got your supplies. I don't know whether these do or not. I know, Robin, one thing that has been saying in the comments is valves really help heat the house, which given your shed,
that could be useful.
That could be useful, right?
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, as a Windows user, I will say that the thing that comes to me is that, latency. How do you deal with it? I mean, is it supposed to be used as a real-time thingy job, or is it something you just leave to happen in the render or some such? I don't know. I mean, plugging extra boxes into a Windows box is never a happy thing. Right. I wouldn't say. So those things worry me about these sorts of boxes.
Yeah, actually, because I mean, if you think about it, you're going to have your interface, which may well be a USB device, and this will be another USB device, which will have to be sort of aggregated somehow. And presumably, they haven't written their own version of Overbridge, so how does it communicate? How do you know? Because if you're passing stuff through, does that mean you can't hear anything else out of your monitoring system while you're doing it, because you have to select it as an audio interface? That was a question I would like to.
That's
like
true.
To know the answer
Yeah,
to.
that's
I don't know whether that's.
I mean, Apple have made things a lot more difficult for connecting to external stuff without you explicitly, you know, allowing things to do. So this company will have to stay ahead of the game to be able to keep that, you know, to keep it working. And I think that would be my concern, the software upkeep of it. Because if Apple, you know, for instance, just, you know, I mean, Windows as well, they change things, you need updates. I mean, what have I got here? I've got some things, the Focusrite Liquid Mix, you know, which is a beautiful design thing, incredible, and so ahead of, amazing thing. But the software support did not last very long. And of course, it was FireWire, blah, 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 another story. That would be my concern. It would just need to have a long support. And it's a small company, a new company. Yeah,
FreqPort. I think so. I'm not into. Yeah, that's the fair point. Anyway, so Robbie, you might need to think carefully before you.
Yeah, no, I
take the
just
plunge
I know it's one of those things, isn't it? Do you support new companies, or do you continually think cynically that they're going to go under? I guess if none of us supported them, then it's never going to move forward, is it?
All right.
No,
I was sorry. I don't want to be cynical about it. I think it looks brilliant.
No, but I do agree. It's a risk. It's like doing subscribing to an indie, whatever all those sort of things where you sort of might get your products or you might not.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah. Okay, well, let's get on to this perhaps was the star of the show, though I do believe this was leaked in advance by Sweetwater, which caused all sorts of behind-the-scenes shenanigans. I can tell you, I was talking to Ben Jordan about this, and it's there was all kinds of nonsense going on. But perhaps that's for another time. Once the lawyers
is it the Instacord? Say it's the Instacord.
It's not.
Is it the Instacord?
No.
Oh, damn.
I used to Chaka.
We're here on the Polyend booth, and you're going to show us the new mini tracker, right? Tracker Mini.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the Tracker Mini. It's our newest product. It's basically identical to our original tracker, but much more powerful with upgraded hardware. It's got a battery on board, and so you can basically use this on the go and make an album on the fly. And
which was basically their tagline. I mean, we didn't get a demo, we were sort of talking about it, but essentially, I really like the form factor of the original tracker. There's something lovely about the hardware as well. It's very clickety-clackety, but it sort of feels... So they've gone with a smaller version. This has got more RAM, 4 times the RAM, and I think the original tracker had 2 megs, so this has got 8 megs for samples. Also, you can do stereo samples, audio over USB, battery up to 8 hours or longer. In fact, Ben Jordan just posted a video the other day, and he's really into it. And it's got a mic, so you can bring stuff in. It does sound like they could be onto a winner there. $699 US, which seems pretty reasonable. I don't know what the quality is. Gaz, are you just reaching for a tracker there? Yeah.
I like the fact it took him 10 minutes to find it in all his gear. he was looking for ages, going, where did I put that tracker?
In the bookcase, yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I think this looks like an evolution. I mean, I think they're going to be selling both trackers concurrently, but really, this one looks like this looks great. I gotta be honest. It's really fun to use, but this grid, that's the most noticeable thing that's missing. Oh, also, and the wheel. The wheel is the biggest casualty, I think. The wheel is fantastic. The grid, you do use it, but it's sort of, in a way, you've got it's all about the track, the display and
well, in
cells.
Performance mode, it's very useful, the grid, because there's a performance mode where you can just quickly each of those becomes a sort of a track preset for an effect, which is really powerful and great for performance. So I don't know if we get the same thing.
Yeah, I totally agree with you there. That's a very good point. But I think the form factor, being able to hold it in a hand like a Game Boy, I think the Game Boy was a bit of a design point, wasn't it, with this new one?
I think so.
Being able to hold it, and for me, makes a lot more sense of the tracker idiom. This one tries to sort of cross. I mean, it's a great machine, but it tries to cross into other territory a little bit, whereas it going more into this handheld form, it just seems truer to the nature of what a tracker is. And I think it's going to be super successul for them. One of the drawbacks of this, I think, stereo sampling is a major boon compared to this, but also the sample time. You do run out of the amount of sample memory that you can have way too quickly. I still imagine that would be the case with this new one. Although I did see, I think that you can use it to record
off SD card.
It's got better clocking as well, hasn't it?
Better clocking, apparently, yeah.
Yes, I mean, it really appeals to me because at the end of last year, end of last year's tour, American tour, I got the Dirty Wave M8 tracker.
That sold
the tiny
really
handheld
well.
one.
Yeah.
And that is an amazing device. But do you know what? My 50-year-old eyes just couldn't deal with it because the screen was so tiny. I was like this, the old like my phone out here, and it was just so frustrating because it's such a beautifully designed thing. So I'm really interested in this because I think I'd probably like to get my hands on one of these and sort of really get to grips with learning the whole tracker thing while I'm on tour this summer. Because the screen's like a workable size for me, and it just seems like a perfect set of features, really.
So you'll be the guy on the tour bus where they go, "What's that noise?" And it's like clickety clackety.
Yeah,
clickety,
me making really irritating drum and bass noises in my bunk, sharing them to everybody.
I don't know, Robin. Did you look at the original tracker? I mean, it's a beautiful piece of hardware, I agree. But yeah, maybe the new one is going to be more.
It is. I mean, the original did appeal to me, certainly in the look and feel of it. It feels like something like a Machina or something of that of a desktop production studio. But to be honest, trackers are really not my thing. I don't feel I'm gorilla enough to be able to pull off doing a tracker thing.
Who are you calling a gorilla?
You need to be on an Amiga, is what I mean. You need to be like seriously underground. So you got your can of paint in one pocket that you'll tag a bit of the underpass with, and then you're doing a bit of tracking.
Not
then you're doing a bit of that,
or anything.
and then you're sampling the car going past and the gunshots over there, and then you're off.
Aerosol makes a great hi-hat, doesn't it? Psst, 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 yeah.
It does. It does. So yeah, it's never really appealed to me in that regard. But people love the things.
It's really interesting because I remember the Dirty Wave video we shot. I think it was the last NAMM I was at in 2020, had a massive number of video views, and I really didn't know where that came from. And I think there's a real interest.
That is so popular, that thing. Yeah, it's so popular.
And also because I'm not really I'm Mr. Impatient when it comes to patterns and step time. Yeah, and I just haven't. But I actually found the Polyend tracker quite good fun to use and quite intuitive. You get into a groove with it. And if you remember the first EMOM, John Birch did an entire set on the tracker with songs and sample vocals, and it sounded bloody great. It really did. Yeah. And that was stereo. I think would be quite impressive as well. I don't know. I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting one, and hopefully, I thought a little bird told me one of the other reasons is because bigger script. It's like a components issue. You have to design around it. Even though this tracker mini's been, according to Ben Jordan's, been in development for quite some time, I'd imagine there's an element to all those extra buttons, all those things. When supplies are such an issue, then they've really got to sort of design around it. Maybe there's an element of that to this as well. So yeah, we'll see. But yeah,
there isn't any wheel. There isn't any wheel on there, though, is there? I mean,
there's the arrows, the sort of arrows up, down, left, and right, isn't there?
That would be my main concern. I think is the missing.
It's got the arrows thing, hasn't it? Yeah, on the left.
Yeah, it's nice. I mean, that's an RSI injury waiting to happen there. I think there, but
yeah, I really want to get one of those.
A wheel. It does look very nice, but yeah, a wheel would be good.
It runs the same firmware. Very clever, it's sort of they're
compatible, aren't they? The backwards compatible.
Backward, but it's a little bit like how Akai have been involved in the MPC and how all of those things run the same software. They're not having to make specific software for that. They're making it work on the same platform. That's quite an interesting move from Polyend.
Yeah,
absolutely. I think it looks great.
Well, hopefully it'll do well. I mean, it seemed there was quite a lot of interest in it for sure. We'll see. Okay, let me see. I should probably have a word from our friends over at Baby Audio. Yeah, Baby Audio makes creative effects plugins designed to add colour and depth to your mixes. They won Plugin of the Year 2021 in Future Music and Computer Music and were nominated for the S Awards 2 years in a row. Why not try iHeart New York 2? Easy to use parallel compressor for the typical New York sound. Special compression algorithm with rich punch, easy operation via XY pad, and tweak section allows for detailed precision. You can save, I think it's, what was it? Yes, 15% with the code ST15 if you would like to. for their plugins. Make good stuff. Excuse me.
I'm suddenly struck by the fact that you're the odd one. Sorry, Dick. I was just going to say, suddenly struck by the fact you're the odd one out. There's three old men with grey beards, and you're the odd one out.
Yeah. Wow. Actually, I'm the youngster. A youngster.
Beards and synths.
Yeah.
Beards and
That
synths.
makes a change. Makes a change, doesn't it? Yeah. Let's see where are we going to. So there's another one of your choices, Robbie. Which again, and
So
it's
hi,
quite
Alison.
Hey.
Oh no, that's not.
We're
it.
here
What
on
am I
the
talking about?
Polyend booth.
That's the wrong one.
SoundToys one.
Yeah, that's the SoundToys. What I was.
Oh yeah, the SoundToys
hi,
plate.
Alison.
Love.
Hey.
Where is
We're
it?
here on the.
It's gone.
So hi, Alison.
Oh, wait a minute. It's everywhere.
Alison's
Where's the
spamware.
SoundToys? I'm just looking for. That's why it's got accidentally switched off. Hey Tony, how you going?
Good, how are you doing?
So we're here on the SoundToys booth, and
Yes, we
you've
are.
got new product.
Yes, we did. After a few years of developing, our new plugin, Superplay, is finally here, and I can guide you through it. And you can already hear it on my voice as I start turning up the mix knob, that the familiar classic EMT 140 sound that a lot of our customers are already familiar from the little plate is now also in Superplay.
So Tony, that's actually a great way to demo. Just basically put the mic through it. I mean, I didn't know why nobody else did that.
Yeah.
It did throw me a little bit because I kind of wasn't. I had no control over the level, but it was all fine. But yeah, actually quite big news because SoundToys haven't been releasing a lot of new stuff. Obviously, most of their most of their work has been going into M1 compatibility and Apple Silicon and all of that stuff. But yeah, Superplay adds more algorithms. They've also got a drive section so you can saturate it differently depending on what the front end you want. $60 upgrade and will be available for FX Rack. And it's not available yet. It's in beta.
May.
I know you're a big user, aren't you, of SoundToys stuff?
They're part of my Desert Island plugins. The SoundToys suite. I mean, they don't release many plugins, but they just wait and just do like one plugin every couple of years, and it's really great. There's like no duff ones in it. To me, this is probably going to be my go-to plate reverb, just like the delay is my go-to for all my delays. It struck me that it's got a great feature set, and like you said, with the stuff with the drive and all that kind of thing, just seems like it's going to be a really nice creative tool.
Yeah, I mean, it's got obviously plates, it's got filtering, it's got pre-delay, it's got sidechain as well. So there's a whole bunch of stuff.
That's right, yeah.
So, multi-purpose things. Well, I don't know, Gaz, this of interest to you? I don't know whether we often talk about reverb plugins, don't we? So, yeah.
Yeah, well, SoundToys is one of my mainstays, although I've just got to get a new stick, whatever they're called. iLocks. Yeah, so it's one of them things that get locked out as stuff, and then I've been a bit locked out on my SoundToys for a while, but this makes me want to get back into it. I like what they're doing though with this. It's quite interesting. I bought the bundle, the SoundToys 5. It doesn't look like there's a SoundToys 6 coming soon, but it looks like
this will be 5.4. Yeah, this will be.
So there's a paid upgrade. I think it's the first one since I've bought it years ago. To be fair, but I think it's. I think you can get it for if you're like me and you've got the SoundToys 5. What is it, about $50 or something?
$60,
something like that.
I think. Yeah.
$60.
Yeah. Yeah, I think
that's good value.
Yeah, well, as Robbie says, you go back to these. Well, I would if I had an iLock.
I would go back and use them.
Yeah. But
Robin, I don't know what your plugin arsenal looks like, but I'm guessing it's probably fulsome.
Yeah, well, not so much, but I mean, SoundToys is something that just crops up from time and time again. I mean, when occasionally I have to write best of articles, and you go, yeah, but this was released 10 years ago, but it's still still in my top 5 of such and such formant changing or echoes or this, that, and the other. They really do nail it on the first try, I think, which is really good. Yeah, but I am a stock plugin person these days because I've got broken iLocks as well, and I just can't be doing with it. It's that point where I have to sit through all these failed authorizations that come up every time I launch my door, which just makes me what it should do is make me sort that out. But no, it doesn't. I just get angry every time I launch my door.
What a great way to start a creative session. Just see them gently as it takes ages to load, and that idea's slipped from your grasp, and you decide you just want to do an angry punk song instead, right?
Yeah, I stick it on the reel-to-reel, you see.
The only time my iLok ever failed was when I had a really important artist come from London to visit me at my studio here, and the iLok failed, and it wanted to scan every plugin, and it was like 2,000 plugins. So I started Logic up, and it said scanning, and then it just was going 1, 2, and we literally had to sit here till it scanned all 2,000. Lost about 3 hours with just like sitting there, just like, don't mention the war kind of thing.
Oh no!
That's the only time it's ever let me down. Only time.
Well, that's I mean, I guess that's adequate. You know, once is fine. I suppose. Yeah, I used. When I've used it, I use the iLok Cloud, I think. The
iLok Cloud, I do that now as well, yeah.
Not all things work on the iLok Cloud or interchangeable. I don't know. I can't bother with it, to be honest. But then I don't need to. I don't use them very often. So it's not really a big deal for me. Anyway, I thought I would throw that one in there. Any other picks from anybody?
I was interested in that iPhone app called Tape It, which there was a feature that you covered that you did.
Oh gosh, I'll try and find it.
And I thought the idea was great, but then the price was. I reached out to the developer because I was curious. So Tape It, basically what it does is it makes your iPhone, I think it's just an iPhone app, but it makes your iPhone just like a field recorder. Well, not so much a field recorder, an instant recorder, which it already is, but in stereo. It uses the two mics, and somehow it says it's got some sort of AI way for gain staging and creating a automatic stereo recording. And you can get like a lock screen. Lock screen button. I've got one there, right? It looks like on my cat's forehead, and then it just starts recording into stereo. But
I've got I didn't shoot that one, but Ed said he said one of the things that it does, which sounds really sort of insignificant, but it's actually quite. So if you mumble into it, it will recognize a voice and give the icon a voice icon. If you play guitar into it, it'll recognize that. So that's the AI part of it. It does that, but it also, what was the other thing? It will use the two mics separately for something clever. I don't remember.
No, that will do that. So that's what I was saying. It will kind of create a stereo recording by using there's two front mics, one at the top, one at the bottom, but it uses both of them, but somehow it does this gain staging thing, which I was kind of curious about. So I've reached out to the developer and I've got it, but I have to say that as a caveat, because you look at this app and you think, yeah, this is great. And then you go to buy it and it's either a £49 a year subscription or a £99 or, £99 for the function.
That's
and it's
2 months of your phone.
Oh no! Wow. I mean, you can buy a Zoom. You can buy a Zoom H1N for about £85. So it's just, but it does do some really nice things, and there's some other nice things planned that is going to come. One of the things that it does, which I've just never seen before, is they call it, I think, like wave paragraph or something. But if you've got like a long audio file, rather than it being compressed small, it like reads like lines on a book, and you can drop markers in. Right. So so the waveform is literally just sort of.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that is really cool, and everything about it is really cool, except that price. I can't get over that price. It just feels
too expensive. Well,
it feels insanely expensive compared to what you would expect to pay for an app. But other than that, it's an excellent app.
Well, I remember, what was it when we first started out doing like Sonic Touch? There was what was it? Cubase was considerably expensive, wasn't it? The Cubase, remember was that one of the ones that was really pricey? There were a couple that were like, that's excessive, and I don't know whether they've come down or not. I suppose
No, I think
Initial
Cubasis
coding.
will still cost about 30, 40 quid or something.
Yeah, well, I suppose it's not that much, is it?
But that's why this just feels like it gives you this functionality, but then at that cost, it's like, whoa, okay. I mean, maybe that's the AI or the licensing on whatever it is. I just don't know. But
yeah, I don't know about that. I mean, we used. This is the other thing about the NAMM show. We actually used AI this time to help us out because we finally figured out how to do it, and so it summarized a lot of our videos for us. We just said, take this transcript and turn it into a 2-paragraph summary. Obviously, I had to check everything. Certainly don't believe any of the links it posted because it just made them up. But it made it really much, much, much quicker to be able to sort of add descriptions and stuff to the videos. So, I mean, but that didn't cost us anything. That was all free. So, have you got a truck outside there, Robin?
I do.
Is there a helicopter hovering over
delivery
your
of
garden?
modules.
Yeah, someone's rotavating or cutting or slicing or something, grinding chickens next door. I think now.
I
Sorry
don't know
about
whether
that.
or not. The tape it. I didn't see it, but yeah, that price does seem a little bit excessive, to be honest. And I mean, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Sometimes by making something really expensive, it sort of dares people to buy it, so you end up selling more. Because I mean, ultimately, the people who buy it are going to really, really want what it does, rather than just be a casual buyer. And then those people are worth supporting. So there must be some kind of psychology or economics to it that makes sense, but I'm not sure what that is. I mean, it's hard to know, but Robin, any other picks for you? Anything else that you kind of
Yeah, the other thing I thought was interesting was the Black BT Sussex sustain and expression pedal. Did you see that?
I did. I shot
that was.
I'm just trying to see if I can find it. This is a little bit difficult to do, because I'm going to see if I can actually find it. I did shoot that, and that was Black BT. Where is it? Here we go. I can bring it right in. That'll be this one.
Very good, Nick. How are you?
I'm good. Yeah, not bad for a first day.
To the top surface. If you
So essentially, it's a Bluetooth.
we have an iOS Android app that can give you that connectivity through MIDI, through USB.
foot
USB
switch
MIDI.
and expression pedal.
Brilliant. Oh, that's brilliant. Massive, though.
So,
yeah, I'm Indian company. The guy, I'm trying to remember what the actual sales pitch was, because I did shoot it, but as you say, short to remember. So I think it's going to be about $159. If I remember correctly, something like that.
It's not that big white thing, is it? It's not.
No,
those
it's
circles.
that
was just on the floor.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah, that was just a highlight his feet.
So there's a
Brilliant.
you have you can have a sustain, but then you've also got expression as well, and it's it looks kind of cool. I get what you're saying.
Sounds great.
Well, Robbie,
Tell you what,
there you go.
I wanted to get a pair of those the Rolly what are they called, the Loomies,
Blocks.
for my little tour, for my little sort of taking around rig, because I want a 4-octave keyboard that I can actually take around with my Mac Studio Ultra and flat little screen I've got. So can play a 4-octave keyboard, but there's no sustain input. So I was wondering how on earth I'd be able to get sustain information with a controller keyboard that doesn't have a sustain input. So that presumably would do the job perfectly.
Yes, I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, I think so.
It's perfect.
I mean, it's a little bit weird because there's I've had a conversation with Satish about it actually. In that I kind of moaned because it doesn't have what it does have. It has a hardwired sustain output, so you can use it on any keyboard with a sustain input. That's good, but it's like the design is that you use it over Bluetooth. So you run it via Bluetooth into a phone app, and then your phone app provides the Bluetooth to MIDI connection to your device, your controller or whatever.
You can't just go straight
which is
to the
kind of
desktop.
cool. It's kind of cool, but also that's putting something in the way. But at the same time, it gives you a lot of configurability, but it doesn't have an expression pedal output, hard socket one, so you can't use it on an analog style synth. sustain and expression, which would be really nice. You can't do that. You have to do it either through your DAW or through this app. And then the keyboard will need to be USB, not just MIDI, unless you get some kind of iPhone USB to MIDI adapter. And it just gets quite complicated quite quickly. If you have a futuristic studio where you're running everything through an iPad or something like that, then I think it's perfect. It's very future looking. I just feel it leaves too many of us behind who would appreciate a hardwired thing.
So it doesn't even have an app for Mac and PC. You've literally got to do it with the phone.
No, I think it must,
you can Bluetooth it direct.
Bluetooth LE.
Yeah, you can Bluetooth it directly to Windows or Mac. Yeah.
All right, so you don't have to have your phone involved if you don't want to.
No, that's only when dealing with other external hardware instruments, which is kind of where my interest is, I suppose.
Got you.
So, and that side seems to be a little bit leaving that in the dust to move forward into more Bluetooth ways. But very, very interesting, and I've not seen anything like it before.
Right. Okay, that sounds cool.
The T-Rex Binson Echo Rec thing is like one of those luxury items that you see at NAMM.
Yes.
2,100, I think. 2,200.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure when we first went to NAMM with the guitar guys that we used to take, Rich and Rob, there was a T-Rex tape echo prototype, like, maybe 10 years ago. I wonder if this is
well, they've had one on the market.
They've had one out.
Have they?
For a while,
've had a tape one out. Yeah, it's really nice. The sort of the turquoise front on it.
The Replicator, which they also actually released as a Eurorack module as well, which involves these. I think you can just. It's the same cassette that you'd have in a cassette, but you'd have to, mounted onto these different spools.
Okay, yeah.
But the Binson one though is an actual rotating magnetic drum. So it's like so Dave Gilmour's famous kind of echo on Echoes on the album the one just before Dark Side of the Moon is Metal.
Okay.
That sound, that delay sound, which I think's been a holy grail delay sound, certainly for guitarists, was a Binson. So, and the one thing about this thing with this spinning drum, you do have to apply some oil to it, and he said monthly. So I guess
if you're going to be nothing like a bit of sewing machine oil or something like that. Right. I'm going to quickly jump to a question just purely because it's sort of pertinent to what we're talking about. This one's from Rocky. The videos at NAMM, hardly anyone seemed to be actually demoing the sounded products on their stands. Was that actually the case, or just didn't have the right leads with you? Well, actually, I did have the right leads with me. We all did. And there were some notable people who just didn't. I think there was the Donna drum machine, and there was another thing that I can't remember. I didn't film it, but... And in some cases, we would go and stand there and say, do you want to do... And people just weren't interested in having any sort of video demo of their stuff. Either they didn't have the product specialists. But yeah, we were all fully kitted up and, just not everybody wanted to do it. You seem kind of bizarre. I guess in some instances, people go to NAMM and they're not going there for the media part. They're going there for the dealers and the exposure to try and get distribution, which is a different sort of purpose. So you don't need a kind of groovy product demonstrator. You just need, I think you should anyway, whatever. If you're going to go and take a product, you may as well have someone who's going to demonstrate it, right? But maybe that's not the primary focus of everybody's trip. So I suppose that might kind of give you the idea, give an idea of what was going on. There was one other thing that I wanted to throw in here, which I think if I press this, it might work. Let's see if it does. Hey Taylor, I've been really interested in this. I mean, people have been trying to solve the problem of long-range collaboration in real time since the internet, right? So what's different about what you're doing?
Well, It works for one, so that's.
I think I'll leave that there because that was the thing that was really interesting because there is a certain other there is a certain other hardware solution which I don't know whether it works or not, but I know a couple of people who tried, and I'm wondering whether or not it does work. And the thing about this real-time one is what they've written. He seemed like quite a smart guy. I don't know whether or not it's. They're just jumping on the bandwagon and theirs works a bit better, or whether it really works a lot better than the ELK system. I've said it now. But the thing that they've also written is they've written their own video conferencing system, which works a much lower latency. So it makes it, and I saw the demo and it was actually quite impressive. So they've got a lot more kind of infrastructure. And I think, everybody's saying they use AI for stuff, but he said they use a certain amount of AI/machine learning to routing the packets. So they can get it down to, they say, 1,000 miles is where their sweet spot, under 1,000 miles. And it can go anywhere between 10 to 50 milliseconds, which is actually in the realm of MIDI, which isn't so bad. I don't know whether that's the case for the ELK system or not, but this looked kind of interesting. I think it's about $300 for the system, and then of course I don't know whether there was. I can't remember if I asked him if there was a subscription thing to it, because it seems to be the case. So everybody has to have a box and subscription. This of interest to you guys? What did you think?
Well, it's definitely interesting. So just in case anyone's not aware, me and Robin, we both made some videos about our experience of using ELK a couple of months ago, and we tried it on numerous times. So that thing about it working, it definitely worked. It definitely worked in the end. We got it working great. And the experience was quite profound. It really works. We were doing stuff together. I mean, we lived 250 miles apart, and yet we were doing stuff together in a meaningful musical kind of way. And so having experienced that, it's like, okay, great. It is possible. ELK, since we made our videos, have changed what they do dramatically, so it's worth mentioning that now, because what is it, Robin? You know about the new system?
Yeah. Well, they've dropped the box as much as anything. I mean, it all used to be that the magic would only work if you used their piece of hardware, their lovely yellow box, which is on the floor over there somewhere. But they've now said. Yeah, they've now said you can do it without the box, which is interesting, because there were other companies at the time. This Real Audio people might be them, who I was looking at, who did it without hardware, but it was always laggy and always required like a clock, a central clock, which everyone played to, and that's kind of how they got around. So you weren't really jamming with each other; you were jamming with the computer clock. But this worked. I mean, with the box, it worked brilliantly. We were in the same room, is how it felt. And I haven't had a chance to try it since they've said you can now do it just in your DAW or in a browser on your machine without the special hardware. But how do they get around all the lagginess of the internet? I mean, this other guy was saying 1,000 miles. That seems a long way to be able to do something, as Gaz says, meaningfully musical with each other. I mean,
well, they use one thing they use is they don't use TCP, they use UDP, which is a different protocol which doesn't have the same packet queuing system, as far as I understand it. I'm not an expert, and nor will I pretend that I know what I'm talking about, but I know that.
So they have their own. They have a new box. So they have a box, do they? Yeah. This particular one, right? I see.
It's a box, yeah. It's definitely got a box, and that's. I mean, it didn't look like $300 worth of hardware to me, but it looked like a box that you. Yeah. It looked like.
No, the pricing is all out of whack with this. Yeah, the pricing seems to be all over the place. It's not a. It kind of. I mean, we found Gaz talking about it that the price of it just made it less and less likely. Because it's something you would use every now and again, unless you were a working studio working with people remotely all the time, you would use it. It's a great thing to be able to use once in a while, but you're not going to be paying a subscription and a large amount of money for a piece of hardware, both of you, if you're just going to use it once in a blue moon.
You could get 2 rehearsals, including travel and hotel for that.
You could.
Yeah, if you're like a producer working with lots of artists, remotely tracking vocals and all that, then it's a no-brainer, isn't it? That sort of thing. There are a lot of people doing that.
Not necessarily, because you don't need real time for that. You can do a session with different link ups, and it doesn't have.
I know you can, but it's if you want to be
talking about playing is.
But if you want to be a producer who's listening to something and hearing it as the person's doing it in the room,
it doesn't need to be real time if they're just. They don't need to be real time if they're listening, though, do they? That's the thing. It's so niche. The actual absolute real time. It's for players. If you're a producer, if you had like 15 seconds a millisecond, it's not going to make any difference, is it? But if you're playing,
a little bit like that. But if you have to stop and then wait to listen to it, I'm talking about you want that kind of almost immediacy to be able to comment on.
Well, you get that with
I'm only stressing that
does that. Yeah.
That's all the difference. I mean, that's such a difference, though, between listening in close to real time to actually. So when me and Robin were playing, one thing we were doing, we just, one of us was playing guitar and the other was singing, and that relationship is so special that to be able to do that, and that would be the key. If you can do that, then that's sort of like such a benchmark for it to do. And with the elk system,
it has to be within a certain parameters. Otherwise, you're disconnected and you're not getting that warm feeling. More than the sum of the parts that you do when you play with someone in real time, right? Yeah. It's so. What do you say? It's like 11 milliseconds. People say, "Oh, that's way too much," but if you get it under 11 milliseconds, it's workable. Above 11 milliseconds, it's just really not workable. Interesting. Well, I don't know whether this will get there, but I just thought it was nice to see something else. There's another opportunity. I mean, elk themselves weren't there, and I didn't see any. I think there might have been another person doing it, but it's fighting the laws of physics to a degree, isn't it? There's only so much you can do because it takes a certain amount of time for wavelengths to reach their destination. There's not much you could do unless it's kind of preemptive, in which case it would be kind of weird. Let's see what else we've got. I'm just trying to think if we've got any more questions. Is there anything else?
Well, I should just say that the elk software version is Mac only currently, so I can't test it because I'm a Windows person. But if you've got a Mac out there, want to give it a go, there's a free trial. You can go and download it and see if you can jam with your friends. Go and try it out. I'd love to hear how well that's going.
Yeah, interesting.
I was going to say, was the Soma Terror? Was that? Am I late to the party with that? Was that before NAMM?
Yeah, well, we went to Warsaw and shot a demo with Vlad. Which was massive. I mean, ridiculously disproportionate. Considering the niche they operate in, it was like normally we'd expect a video to be in the tens of thousands, and it's like done more than 200,000 views.
Oh, amazing! Well, it does look like an exciting product. That was all I thought.
Yeah,
I'd only seen it through the NAMM coverage. So,
yeah. We've seen it, but I'm looking forward to. Hopefully, we get one in for review at some point. But I'm running out of time because obviously we've got Superbooth coming up as well. But that's definitely. Sorry, go.
Was the Nectar Panorama CS12 was that announced at NAMM?
Yes,
because that
was. Yeah.
Seems to.
That looks good as well.
Seems really nice. That does, and an evolution of the Panorama platform. So yeah, that seems to have gone over quite well. I haven't watched the video in depth on that one, but I was thinking that looked pretty cool. But also something which is like one of the worst musical demos since the Timberwolf.
I know what you're going to say.
I'm not saying something, isn't it? To be fair,
yeah, I know.
It's the Muse Ovation's Beat Warp, which on the surface looks really great. It's just the worst musical demo, I think. It's just if it has got some really unique features, but the guy goes to say that there's these little LED lights which are facing you, and he talks about how that's really great for the audience
printed
to see. I mean, I wish them really well with this. They're trying to do something quite unusual. It's got 4 little mini joysticks at the front where you can kind of program
film that, but yeah.
You can program beats that off these little joysticks, and that's like, oh, that's most curious. But then seems to not really explain anything.
And the kick and snare sound, or
yeah, that's one of the things where you just think, what's the? I don't understand why you would do that. It just seems a little bit, And I mean, it's not like Sorry,
it does look promising though, and I hope it works out for them because it looks like they're trying something. Certainly in the way that they are presenting it as something quite unique, and those little joysticks, I've never seen anything quite like it. It's worth having a look, but it definitely.
It was just how you could get more excited about the fact you're 3D printing the knobs than the actual product itself. What it could do, it would baffle me.
That's very true.
Anyway.
Well, I don't know. You get people who are very monofocused on certain things, and it's that's maybe he was the 3D printing guy, and the other guy couldn't make it, or couldn't make it to the show, and that's what happened. That's the cards that they were dealt on the time. So I don't know.
Anyway,
I'm just looking for some. Do they still have a? Yeah, I think we might be. Oh gosh, it's 5:15.
Those endorphins pedals are quite cool. I think an interesting development.
Good. I think that's going to be interesting. There was still a few things there. There was the I can't remember what it was. It was the central. Oh, I've forgotten now.
Oh yeah, no, that's been. I know which one you mean. No, I can't think of it. Center semi-modular wavetable 1 volt per octave thing.
Yes, that's
that what you mean? The
was,
center.
Yeah, that seems to cover it.
Yeah, that seems to cover it. But
we saw that I think last year. I think it's been knocking around a little while as an individual module, as opposed to the collection of bits that it put together. But again, not a fabulous demo, particularly. I didn't think overly complicated.
Yeah, well,
that's interesting.
I think that's the other thing about it is you get when shows go through transitions like this, you generally get a sort of new batch of exhibitors or exhibitors that would normally be in maybe a larger collective, like the Perfect Circuits or the I've forgotten the name of the place in LA that used to do it, and also Super Booth. They used to have booths there, and I think when they become less about that, sort of coming out into the open, it's sometimes they don't have all the parts in place that help them present their products in the best light. And I think, that's the one thing. I mean, we do try and be sympathetic. I mean, sometimes one might film something and realise that perhaps it's not going to do any favours. If we would sometimes pull a video, but that's really different. That depends. It would have to be fairly bad these days, because I mean, if you're there, you're going to all that trouble, then you just sort of tend to put it out. It's when people come across as maybe not knowing anything about what they're talking about, or rude or whatever. You try and do that just to sort of protect them from the worst aspects of the internet comments. But sometimes people need to figure out that they're not doing it right, and they need to do it a bit better, because otherwise they'll just keep doing it.
Nick, can I just mention about that endorphins pedal though? There's a few things that are definitely worth mentioning. One of which is quite interesting to see a modular manufacturer moving into a different territory, making pedals, and the two pedals that they've announced, the Ghost and the Golden Master, are both essentially ports of their modules into pedals. So this is an interesting thing. We've seen it happen a few times, but seeing this happen it's definitely interesting. Well, the Golden Master, I've got that in my live rig, is essentially a module kind of tribute to the TC Finalizer, the rack unit. So this kind of evolution now of them being influenced to making a module that's essentially like a mastering, it's got a 3-band EQ, 3-band compressor, and a 3-band stereoizer. So it's essentially based on that idea of the TC Finalizer. So then that now going into a pedal, that's quite interesting, isn't it? A kind of mastering chain in a pedal, a stereo in, stereo out, obviously for use for all sorts of purposes, but I can't think of any other mastering chain as a pedal out there.
No. What I find funny about it is it's like we've been all sort of using guitar pedals and sort of using them with our Euro racks, like all the Strymon stuff for years, and now it's going the opposite way around. You had people like Eventide bringing their products out for Euro rack, and now Euro rack people are putting it back in pedals. I find it a little bit confusing who that's aimed at, because if you're a Euro rack person, why would you buy it in a pedal when you could just put it nice and neatly in your rack? And what guitarist is want to use it? So it just seems like some of these seems from a little bit of an odd kind of sit in an odd kind of market.
I totally disagree.
You've got things like the microcosm and things like that, which you could argue are kind of unusual products that more you would expect to see in a Euro rack or something. But for that, I just wonder what would you use it for as a mastering thing for?
Oh, you could use it for so many things. So the fact it's in a pedal just makes it versatile for everything, live, desktop, keyboards, guitar. Especially with the move away from using amps on stages, having something that, you've got your pedal board and then you've got like a mastering chain thing at the end of your pedal board. I think it's huge. But the other one that they've done is the Ghost, which is which was a module that was a collaboration with Andrew Huang. So that moving into a pedal, that definitely has more of a more into that kind of Strymon-y sort of fancy digital pedal effect. So two very different products, but both worth mentioning though, because they're both unique and interesting in the world of Eurorack. So that coming out,
and you're right. It absolutely makes sense for them to be at NAMM as well, because as you say, there was still a lot of guitar stuff there. I mean, not as much as one might think. I mean, it's just. Because I think it was not the 2020 year, but the 2019 year, it was sort of the ultimate NAMM synth show. And it was almost like synths completely overran everything else. And that was the star of the show. It was the most vibrant area. The hall, the hall 5, just was full to the brim of synths. And there were lots and lots and lots of synths. And then that sort of tailed off. So I guess guitars just... are sort of residually there, and I suppose the thing is with guitars is there's not massive amounts that change. I mean, I think we get to that situation a lot with synthesizers now as well, because there's been so many of them. It's hard to do something completely different. Although we've got the new expression instruments, the C15, the Osmos, all of that kind of stuff that really does change the market to a degree. So.
There was a biggie, wasn't there, in NAMM, the Yamaha wireless headphones.
Oh, I didn't see that, no.
4 milliseconds wireless. Four milliseconds. So that's definitely usable. Wireless headphones that are musically useful. That's a biggie.
Well, and the CK keyboard, I have to say, that's worth checking out, which is basically, it's like a massive Reface YC/CP, has more effects, and it's got 3 parts. It's quite affordable. That sounded really good. Jim did a really good demo of it, sounds only demo. And that actually looks like, it's a stage keyboard, but it's like Reface Pro, which between the YC and the refaces, it seemed to sit pretty well, and it sounded good from what I could gather. Robin, any other business before? I think we should probably wrap up. It's been going on for ages. It's a long show by my standards.
Yeah, no, I think that covers it. Just one comment on the Ghost is that it was a bit baffling as a module, and I really like the fact that they've laid it out and labeled it for us old idiots who can't quite understand Andrew's routing through this field of knobs. And so, pedals, from one point of view, just give you more space. And then you run it on your desktop like you do lots of other bits and pieces and have to thump big foot buttons. But good. I like the fact that it's laid out better.
Right. Oh, that's good. Yeah, no, fair enough. I mean, I think most of them these days use those kind of really silent push ones. Like, where did we see those? That like they have on the Soma Cosmos. Just really nice little sort of momentary. They don't have that kind of clunk thing that you suspect he's going to break after a while. But anyway, thank you, chaps. I don't know, Gaz, if you're streaming later or whether you're.
Yes, I'd like to make an announcement about that. I am going to do a live concert tonight at 8 p.m. with live visuals as well. So I'm going to do that. It's going to be a bit of a trial. We're going to been practicing most of the week. So we're going to do it with live visuals on my normal Gaz Williams show, but I'm going to be doing some of the Bad Workman kind of thing that I've been working on. But yeah, with live, really trippy visuals, courtesy of Sloon.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Nice. Well, that sounds good. So 8 p.m. on the
yes,
there it is, YouTube at Gaz Williams. So yes, I might
come and join. Yeah,
for that.
I'm not going to be talking, so it's just going to be music. So, but please come. I'm going to, and use the chat room.
I got a concert for one the other night as their dry run, and it was very good.
Oh, excellent. All right, well, lovely to see you too, Robbie. Hopefully we'll see you in person. We will be doing another EMOM at some point in the near future.
Brilliant.
There's lots of stuff in the way, like big trade shows where we've got to organise large teams of people. But nice to see you also, Robin. Maybe will we see you in Berlin? Are you going to Berlin, Robin?
Yes, I'm catching a 6 o'clock flight out Saturday morning from Norwich, which will be fun. Gaz, you should get on board. You should finish your gig, right, and then just come over to Norwich, and we'll get on the 6 o'clock to Amsterdam, and then another flight to Berlin. It's all direct, not from Norwich, but hey,
Norwich.
I've done that.
So that's the plan.
When I was touring, we drove from Liverpool to Norwich. It's a difficult road, if I may say so.
It's a long one.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
East to west, west to east, even. Well, there's a challenge.
But then I'm just there for the day.
Oh, like last time? Wow.
Yeah. Just flying in for the day. Stay the night, though. Staying the night in Berlin. I'm bringing one of my kids with me, so that'll be a bit of an adventure.
So am I. Yeah,
just an early start.
So
nice.
Yes, she'll experience me at work, which may be horrific for her, or it may be an eye-opening experience. We'll find out. Anyway, thank you, everybody. Thanks, everybody in the chat. Lovely to see you all. Sorry we didn't get through to a lot of your questions, but do keep them coming if you've got any questions, either for the next week's show, or if you're quick, they just go in the database, so they'll be caught, and we can put them to our panelists. That's it for this week. Thank you very much, everybody. We'll see you all in a week's time. Take care. Bye-bye now.